Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, loud and clear.
Yes, Avikalp.
Awesome. Uh, okay, so let's start the session. We are already 3 minutes late. Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. This is our third session in the IIT Kanpur Alumni Cafe series. I'm your host, Avikalp Gupta, and today we'll be interviewing the people behind the success of Nocca Robotics, one of the very few hardware innovation startups in the domain of clean tech and healthcare. We have received many questions from our audience, and I have accumulated them into a shorter list, which tries to touch upon all of those questions in some way or the other. I would like to request everyone to listen to us today and to keep adding your questions to the chat. And with this, let's begin the session. So I have with me both the co-founders of Nocca Robotics, Mr. Nikhil Kurele and Mr. Harshit Rathore, and their mentor, Professor Amitabh Bandyopadhyay, who is the faculty of IIT Kanpur and in charge of the Bio Incubator of Startup Incubation and Innovation Cell (SIIC) of IIT Kanpur. Nikhil and Harshit have been featured in Forbes 30 under 30 Asia's in the list of industry, manufacturing, and energy category for their work in Nocca Robotics. And I would like to start off by basically asking their journey, where they found each other, and how did they find out that they would like to work with each other.
Yeah, so
Nikhil, would you like to start?
okay, so thank you so much, Avikalp, and thank you, IIT Kanpur Alumni Association, for this opportunity. It's really good to interact with people from IIT Kanpur, and it's always a pleasure to interact with people from same college. So definitely, thanks for the opportunity. So I remember, so we definitely were from the same hall, so we knew each other. We knew each other's interest. So the first memorable incident I would say was Tekriti actually. So he was participating as one in one of the competition related to electronics. I was participating in one of the event related to robotics. So fortunately, we both won that individual events. So we that was the time we realized that yes, we should now start doing something. Then we went into technique, and there we started working together. So from the hall events, so that is something which I have as a initial memory of like interaction with Harshit.
Harshit, do you have any? The
Yeah,
same is
so
true for you as well, right?
yes, so we started with Tekriti and Technique, and then we also joined the SAE club together, wherein we worked for more than 2.5 years. And
Mhm.
yes, so that was, I think, where we engaged a lot more in SAE, and the kind of work which we did in SAE was, I mean, both related to the electronics and mechanical engineering, and we participated in, I think, two or three national events. So yes, so we did a lot of work together.
Nice. So there has been a lot of technical inclination, like similar technical inclination between you two. So how was the entrepreneurial environment in the ecosystem at IIT Kanpur? And here we can see that you wanted to work on similar projects, but when did you realize that you want to start a company together?
Okay, so I'll answer the half part of that. So we realized it, I think, when we came back from our internships. So we both interned at Tata Group, I mean, different companies, Tata Motors and Tata Technologies. But when we came back, we realized that there is a lot of gaps and opportunities in the market which are being tapped right now. I mean, there's a lot of scope of doing things in hardware. So software has always been very popular, but developments in hardware have been ever since very slow in India. So there we realized that there is an opportunity, and I think in our fourth year we decided that we should do something, and we started Nocca Robotics informally in our fourth year. I mean, we did not register or anything, but yes, we conceptualized the product. We also received a grant at that point of time from IIT Kanpur. So Prime 83 from the 83 batch, we received some funding support for that as well. But we didn't pursue it for a long time because the product was for defense and doing a B2G business as the first product. So people suggested that it can of course be done later on, but not as the first product because of several reasons. So then at that point of time, we dropped it, and then we started formally in 2017 after 1 year of our graduation.
I see.
So, like for my side, so when as Harshit answered, like definitely the time when we realized that yes, there is a lot of opportunity in the market when we were interning in Tata companies. So right, so just after 1 month of our internship, we started interacting on phone, and he was in Pune, I was in Bangalore, and we used to discuss the kind of technologies these companies had at that moment of time. And so I was discussing my work with Harshit, he was discussing his works, and we realized that a lot of these companies are mostly the companies which own the brands, right? There are a lot of technologies, and there are a lot of I would say business is done by the ancillaries of the vendor companies, and that is where
Hmm.
we decided not to be a brand, but definitely we felt that we have a potential to make a company which can generate revenue. That was the idea. We never thought that we'll be into a healthcare sector or we'll make a robot, but definitely at that moment of time we even had an idea कि कुछ भी नहीं, so we'll be able to manage make a good quality ambulance. That is one of the ideas which we discussed in OAT. So the idea was to have some company where we can generate revenue honestly. And also when we are talking about the entrepreneurship culture, so some or the other way, there are people around you in IIT Kanpur, especially I have seen in IIT Kanpur, if they feel not just related to entrepreneurship, what I've seen in every other aspect. So if someone is good in acting, if someone is good at something else, people tend to motivate that person for that particular thing to choose select that thing as a career. So giving you an idea, Harshit is not from electrical department and neither from mechanical department. He's from chemistry. So I always make fun of him, like in front of my company, like team members, right? So the idea is, so the culture which we have in IIT Kanpur, it always motivates you to do something which you like. And people,
Right.
some or the other way, in Bulla session, they'll try to pull your legs, but at the end of the day, everyone motivates you to do that. So that was something which made us do this. And a lot of our batchmates even motivated us for this. SAE was one of the platform which gave us a lot of leverage on this.
True. There are a lot of hobby groups, and I've seen that everyone who's trying to do anything, they have some kind of club in our college, and they can always pursue their interests. That's actually one of the really motivating factors. But so most of the startups in India nowadays, they're innovating in software. Like even for I think a couple of decades now, India has been on the forefront on software, and because it's easier to build, modify, and also risky. But Nocca Robotics is innovating in hardware technology, and hence has both hardware and software components, right? So, and it is comparatively much harder. So, which factors, according to you, helped you garner the courage and strength to choose the road less traveled by? Harshit, would you like to take this one?
Yeah, so I think the idea always was to work in a hardware company, at least for me, and I think for Nikhil also, because from the day we joined IIT Kanpur, we both we had already been working on taking things apart and looking what is inside and those kind of things we already used to do. And when we
Like
joined IIT
Rancho and
Kanpur, so
Creatives.
yeah, so when we joined IIT Kanpur, one of the main thing was there were so many clubs, robotics, electronics. I mean, we were in a situation that I want to join this also and this also and this also. But unfortunately, we could join only one at that point of time. So yes, the idea was always to either do a job in a hardware industry or I mean, I never thought that I will do a startup after graduating. So after graduating, the major point which we realized while we were in SAE. So what used to happen in SAE? It's a competition where we used to design full scale race cars, and the event is it's a very prestigious event which is organized by SAE all over the world. So we
Right.
used to see a lot of teams, and what used to happen is that so there's a functional requirement that your car has to do this. So everyone in India, their cars used to run, their car used to work. But when we used to compare those cars to the international cars, we used to notice a lot of differences, which were the attention to detail. And when we took our car to the competition for the first time, the first feedback which came from the judges, they said, "What are you doing here? You should be participating in an international event." So
Wow.
so at that point of time, I mean, continuing from there, we felt that there is a lot of gap in the hardware industry. People do not focus on attention to detail, fine engineering, quality. these things are always compromised in Indian hardware products. If you even look around your house, you won't find anything which is made in India and which is hardware. I mean, very rare.
So very
Either
rare.
it is Tata's or something, or there is nothing. So we thought that this is of course a big gap in the Indian industry, and specifically to this medical industry. When we started in March, we
Mhm.
realized that around 85% of critical care medical devices are imported, and
True.
all these companies are, I mean, GE, Philips, these kind of companies, and they sell at very high margins to Indian, I mean, all the developing countries. So these were
Mhm.
the motivating factors for us that we can definitely make a very good quality product in India, and offer. I mean, the idea was never to sell it in India. Along with India, we also wanted to make a product which is exportable. So if you see, we
True.
do not export a lot of hardware. We only import hardware. So that has always been the motivating factor for us.
That's great. So you always knew that you wanted to do hardware. That's good.
Yes.
So I have known Nikhil for a long time, and for the longest time, I only knew that he was building robots for waterless cleaning of the solar panels when he started Nocca, right? And that sounded amazing in itself, a great innovation. And when finally the news broke out about the 30 and the 30, and before that the ventilators, I was like, okay, now they do healthcare. So, Nikhil, what motivated you to innovate in healthcare?
So I'll tell you like in a very short form. So what actually happened? So Nocca Robotics was definitely into clean tech, where we were making robots for solar panel cleaning, and our business was completely in the operation side. So a lot of things were happening either in the factory or outside the factory in the field. When the
Okay.
lockdown hit, there was nothing to do. Actually, we were left with nothing. We did not had machines, so I can't have a drill machine in my house and like get the components ready. So one thing which was very good from IIT Kanpur Incubation Center, despite we graduated, I would say graduated, our company graduated from IIT Kanpur Incubation Center, but there was a constant touch and constant feedback and mentorship which was coming from SIIC IIT Kanpur, and we were
Nice.
always a part of. We are still part of SIIC IIT Kanpur, as good as any company which is still physically incubated. I got a call from Dr. Bandyopadhyay, and we with Dr. Bandyopadhyay, it's the best part. I'll tell you. I'm not deviate. I'll come back to the question, but I'll tell you more about Dr. Bandyopadhyay. He is like another entrepreneur in the company who is playing role of co-founders in almost all the companies, and that is not because he is right now in the platform sharing this stage with me. That is the fact. That is the reason why IIT Kanpur has seen so much glory because of the incubation center. So I got a call from Dr. Bandyopadhyay. The first statement he told to me, he boss, you need to make a ventilator. Just design the ventilator. I know you guys can do it. Whatever is required, money, support, mentorship, permissions, regulations, whatever it is required, I'll get you that. So that is the
Wow.
kind of confidence he had in the team. And it was not just us. He was also helping other teams which are not even incubated in SIIC Kanpur. So he was, I remember in the same day, he was also meeting with a team which was there in Bangalore. So they were also developing ventilators. So the idea was not to support an incubating company. The idea was much bigger, to solve the problem of COVID-19. So it did
Right.
not started as a business opportunity, honestly. It was more about solving the problem for the country right now. Because if
Mhm.
you see, when the lockdown hit, exports were banned in across globe, and
True.
India was worstly affected because we had a population of 1.3 billion, but still
Very
we did not
dense.
had any medical equipment companies. So that
True.
time, all these IITs, so Dr. Bandyopadhyay formed a team. So Shrikant Shastri sir, Dr. Bandyopadhyay, they got together, they called me, they tried and understood me, understood the things which we were doing. And the next day in the morning, 8 a.m., Dr. Bandyopadhyay arranged a call with one of his friends who is also part of SIIC as a mentor, so Dr. Padmanabhan. He was in the car, he took our call, he gave us feedback on the design. We were awake complete night, we were making the design. He got us the feedback, and when the doctor approved it, Dr. Bandyopadhyay, straight away after that call, he called several other alumni. I don't know how, but there was a team of around 20-25 members which were supporting us, and they were all industry leaders. And we aspired to be one of them. Like we aspired to follow their path. And it was not a team who was just giving us suggestions and orders. They were taking up task and they were getting it done. That was a
Wow.
feeling of creating solution which can solve the problem. So that's how it is started. definitely being a startup, that was an opportunity. At the end of the day, we have to convert into business. So there was some process, there were some things which brought in, and Nocca formalized it as a product of a company. But definitely, it was a much bigger objective from IIT Kanpur. It's a journey of IIT Kanpur and Nocca altogether.
And this was like from the team arrangement, how many days was it?
So I think Bandyopadhyay sir, you can answer that much better than me.
Yeah, it is precisely 84 days from the
84 days.
from the day we had the first discussion about a ventilator to the day they actually got it sanctioned by the government of India, Director General of Health Services. Yeah, yeah,
So just to give you an idea, so I think the team was formed in just 4 to 5 days, a
yeah,
task force, and the task force was conducting a meeting on a daily basis, including Sunday. We had Padma awardees in task force. We had a medical equipment associations presidents in the task force. We had senior doctors. Everyone was like assembled just to make sure that the ventilator is ready. And the task force did a meeting continuously, and still the meetings are going on a periodically basis. Periodical basis. We still have a meeting after this meeting with Dr. Bandyopadhyay on this. So it was going on for 80 days, and that made us like do this thing because it was a job, not just in making something as a revenue stream.
This is like amazing, amazing feedback. So Bandyopadhyay sir, I have heard so much in this one answer about you. So according to you, what are the biggest challenges in creating a startup in hardware innovation? Especially in so healthcare is very highly regulated and critical. Like if you make something which does not work, it is going to negatively affect a lot of lives. So
yeah,
you have to be very responsible as well, and
yeah.
like it's so tricky. How do you go about doing that?
So see there are problems at several levels. First of all, funding. Okay, it is
Right.
much easier for a services company to raise funding in India than someone who is developing a product, particularly if it's a hardware product.
True.
Then the supply chain, even if you want to make a hardware, uh, the different components, those will all have to be imported because we do not really have components. Like in a slightly different note, the reason Nocca's work could actually expedite it is because we have a very good automobile industry backbone in Pune. So that did several jobs for them. But in different hardware segments, you do not have that kind of support. That is the second problem. The third problem is that very good high-end manufacturing setup, that itself is a problem. And
True.
the biggest problem, in my opinion, is particularly when it comes to medical devices, is regulation. So, you will
Exactly.
be surprised today to know, this is the first time I'm talking about it, that as on 31st March 2020, Government of India's designated body would regulate only 23 medical devices. The rest of the devices were not regulated. I
Okay.
have the screenshot of an email sent by the Director General of CDSCO or the DGCA, like the Director General of
CDSC, CDSC.
yeah. So, writing to the Pharma Secretary of Government of India that as on today there is no regulation on ventilator. Anyone can make and sell ventilator. Now imagine that this is a life-saving device and there is no
True.
regulation. So anyone and anybody can make anything that produces some air at very high velocity and call it a ventilator and put it on patients. Now the problem is that this information itself is not known even to the secretaries of the government or the hospitals. So now they would ask that what kind of certificates do you have? It should be certified by a national agency, like completely oblivious to the fact even the procurement agency recruited by Government of India, Hindustan Life Care Limited, they put it on their tender notice that it should be approved by a national agency, a ventilator. If you ask
Okay.
them which is the national agency, they do not know because it does not exist. Even today it does not exist. Or it should be certified by an international agency. Like the two international agencies that are in vogue are FDA and CE. To get an FDA or CE marking, it will take you at least a year. By that time, the pandemic would have gone way past us.
Right.
And because
So
there is no regulation, so people
mhm,
can make any quality of product. And healthcare is such a domain where a lesser quality product can kill people. And
true.
once a disaster happens, then nobody will trust another Indian make product for procurement. And this is a vicious cycle. And this is, in my opinion, is the worst problem that we have.
So how, like during the pandemic, when like the communication and the transport was also abrupted, how did Noka get all the like get past all of these regulation problems?
Well, so strictly speaking, the healthcare regulation problem they could not get past because there is no one knows what the problem is and what the solution is. But for the other aspects, this is something that we all should be proud of as Indians. Is that extraordinary level of collaboration? You reach out to alumni, they collaborate. One thing, like you understand why they are doing that.
Yes.
You reach out to like the Mumbai Alumni Association president. When he learned about it, he said, "What? How can I help?" So I said, like movement of Noca team in and around Pune and between Pune and Mumbai is a problem. So he put us in touch with the industry secretary of Maharashtra, and the Noca team never had any difficulty. The best part
Wow.
is this. Listen to this story. This will be Shrikant is writing a book. I am helping him. This will be featured in there. So
Wow.
only earlier part of this month, I was copied on an email from Indian embassy in Singapore asking
Mhm.
about some payment to be made. When I investigated, what I realized is that there was a time when we were desperately trying to import some components from Singapore, and Singapore was going into a lockdown the next day. And we contacted Invest India, government of India arm. They communicated with Civil Aviation Agency as well as Ministry of External Affairs, and the Singapore embassy, the Indian embassy at Singapore actually took charge of delivering it to us. They, on their own security, asked a freight forwarder to do it for us and made the payment upfront. They asked the money from us after everything was done. Now imagine a government agency doing this. So this was
True.
the spirit of collaboration was just outstanding during our hectic days of the task force operation. So it is of course the 20 of us were there and all of us put our best foot forward, but it needed the whole of India to make it happen.
Wow. And that Singapore whole thing happened in one day. The collaboration between all the arms of
Yeah,
India
yeah, 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 yeah,
and
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
wow.
Everything was happening real time, like at a breakneck speed. Like there
Wow.
were days when Nikhil, Harshit, me, we had meetings, Zoom meetings started at 1:30 a.m.
Oh God. Okay. So like also, I wanted to touch on one of the other challenges that you were talking about, the funding for hardware startups. I want to know about that as well. How was Noka able to, get over that?
Again, collaboration. Like
Same.
there is the like Standard Chartered Bank. When they heard about, see, like our news of us trying to make a ventilator got picked up very fast. It was
Right.
flashed in BBC. Okay, BBC wrote a
Right.
very big story on it, and Standard Chartered called me and said that we would like to fund it. So
Mhm.
even before Noca actually got on the ground, we had money from Standard Chartered and ANSYS, and then within a week's time from ICICI. securities,
Wow.
and then several government agencies, etc. Like it was a fantastic time. Like someone from Godrej family somehow found out my mobile number and called and offered to help.
Wow.
So like and now she is a very good brand ambassador for our incubator, and it's a fantastic thing. This one project, we took it up for the right reason, and it is serving IIT Kanpur and the incubator in so many different ways.
So just to add to this, it was not exactly that easy that the companies came to us. It was a complete SIIC team. I'll name people behind that. Aditi from SIIC team, Rahul from SIIC team. They were working round the clock, writing proposals. Nikhil sir was there. He was evaluating proposals. So I'll tell you, Nocca team for 84 days was purely working on the technical part. Funding was arranged by SIIC. Mentors were arranged by SIIC. Operations were overlooked by SIIC. So a complete team of SIIC was involved. So writing proposals for the funding, that was not done by me. Even I did not knew what exactly is going in that proposal. So it was SIIC. So Dr. Bandyopadhyay summed it up in very short form, but actually a lot of efforts from SIIC has been put up because a lot of agencies had a trust in IIT Kanpur. It was not just Nocca. Nocca is a new company. So people trusted IIT Kanpur and SIIC, and then they gave the funding.
Yeah,
Definitely
like
they came
there
upfront,
was
but
a separate mail ID created. There was nocahealthcare@gmail.com. That mail ID was handled only by SIIC team.
huh, yes, you are muted, Avikal.
Sorry. Yeah. Like I was just saying, that's amazing. Like the collaboration. So when there's a problem that the whole country is facing, everything came together, and I think the whole system kind of worked in that sense. So like when I was like Nikhil has earlier said that they were not just his team. There are other ventilator teams that you were talking to and supporting. What was special in the case of Nocca, and why did like Nocca come out as a success in this case?
Yeah, so I will take the first shot at it, and this is what I mentioned in an earlier meeting with the team. See, you understand from what Nikhil and Harshit told you that when the pandemic started, their regular business got interrupted. They have funding from Indian Angel Network, but realization of the product was not within sight. They started a completely new product. There is time pressure, there is lockdown, there is competition, there are so many other things. But so it was literally their career was on the line, right? Even after that, not a single time they said that let us cut corner in terms of the product quality.
I see.
The mentorship team was very firm that IIT Kanpur's name is associated with it, etc., etc. So quality cannot be compromised. But like that is us, old people. It is none of us had any real, interest on the line. While the two Nocca founders, they had wagered everything. But never did they say that let us cut corner on the quality, then we can get it out to the market faster. And that is something that I think made it a success, because you imagine that they did not get a single order from the government of India, no patronage from there. So
True.
they fought it out in the real world, in the private sector. And this private sector procurement, they have seen all the products. Even then, they chose Nokia product, and now it is slightly more on the expensive side than the competitors. And still, they chose it only because of the quality.
Quality.
So, yeah.
So, Nikhil, what do you think? What like made Noka a success versus the other people that you might be competing with?
So
And
one
also, like from the two of you, both Nikhil and Harshit, not just this part, since you would be constantly monitoring your competition as well. Where do you see Noka right now? Like, are you way past the competitors, or is there are you still under threat?
So I think Harshit can answer the first part. I can answer the second part definitely.
Okay, Harshit, would you like to start?
Yeah, so I think, as I said in the earlier part of the interview as well, the part which is missing from the other products. So as Nikhil said earlier, that the imports were not happening at that point of time. So all the MNCs and these companies, they were not being able to supply the ventilators. And when we come to Indian companies, the major thing which is missing is the attention to detail and the quality. So what
Mhm.
people do is, for example, there is a tender document and it has 10 requirements. They will meet all those 10, but what they miss is the attention to detail and how long is the product going to survive in the market, those kind of things, which is actually the problem with Indian products. So I think we did not compromise on that front, and yes, quality and you know making sure that the product works for the next 5 years or 10 years. That was the first criteria that we had, and we followed that, and we did not cut any corners. We tested our product. I remember we got one part from China, and we were not very sure about it, so we kept it on testing continuously for 45 days. And
Oh,
then, when the product was made, we did not launch it or send it to the market. Instead, we sent it to one hospital supervised, and we asked the doctor to test it continuously. That machine was tested continuously 24 by 7 for 25 days. So after only that kind of a validation, we decided that now we should put the product into the market. So I think that is something which is not generally done by Indian companies.
Yeah, and
oh,
also like in this particular project, firstly, coming to the next question, I'll just answer half this particular part. So, when we are talking about the task force, people really do not know what the task force is all about. Oh, particularly this task force was all about. Let me tell you, I do not know how what it would seem like in this particular platform. We have been grown like kids of Ambani's. Honestly speaking, in the last 3 months, we had everything, almost everything. Honestly, we did our MBAs from the best college up. I can honestly say we had almost everything. We had two Padma awardees. There was no option of compromising on the qualities. People did not had any financial interest. People were giving almost 4 to 5 hours. People at their age, in their 70s, were working for 5 hours for Nocca, and without any financial interest in the company. We did not had any option of compromising on the quality. People were endorsing our products. People were IIT Kanpur name was at stake. Director of IIT Kanpur was actively involved. He was following. He was on constant touch. But Dr. Bandyopadhyay was in constant touch with him to ensure that if anything is required, he was even coming in the meetings with our some of our business partners. So that was the kind of support we had. So there was no option of compromising on the quality. And look, answering your second question, honestly speaking, in the technology terms, we are right now one of the best products made in India, not globally. I would say there are really good products across globe. The reason why we are not best amongst the international brands as well, we are definitely competing with some of the international products in this price range. But
mhm.
the reason was there's no supply chain which is there in India. Most of the critical components which goes into a medical equipment component is coming from either from Europe or USA. We only in India we just make components which are like of a price competitive components or a fast moving good. So that is one of the challenges why we have not created a product, because in the lockdown getting a product a component from some other country was a really big task. Rahul from SIIC team took up that responsibility, and airport authority head of the airport authority of India, he was copied in every mail which was related to Nocca Robotics. So he was ensuring that every custom shipment gets cleared as soon as possible for Nocca. So that is the kind of support which we're giving. So that made us a really good brand in India. We are now one of the best products in India, but our aim right now is to ensure that the quality is as good as any international brand. Right now our operations are not that huge, and we are getting help from definitely from IIT Kanpur in that, and from our mentors, Dr. Saurabh Srivastav, and even people who are not from IIT Kanpur. So Mr. Sanjeev Verma from IIT Kharagpur, he was helping us. Ajay Chaudhary sir from HCL, he was helping us. So all of them are continuously helping us. So now our aim for next 2 years. So I think you are asking us also asking about the future where we see ourselves, right? So we want to definitely cover a range of products. So what we have developed is a modular design, which is a platform. We now know the complete science behind any respiratory device in India. What we did is we did not benchmark any product. We literally studied, and now the theoretical knowledge is as good as any fresh pulmonologist or someone who is reading. Definitely, we can't intubate any patient, but we know what exactly is happening inside the lung. So the science of that particular thing is something which we study a lot, because we had to. It was required to know what exactly the machine can do, because it's a life-saving machine. So based on this knowledge, we'll now expand into different respiratory devices in home care and the hospital care as well, and definitely. After that we'll look into another streams as well.
Nice. Actually, I wanted to come back to Amitabh sir. So since there's so much collaboration going on, like not just from IIT Kanpur but from everyone else, I wanted to know specifically, since you are in charge of the bio incubator at SIIC. I wanted to ask, what are the facilities provided by SIIC to help innovation in healthcare? And like, what should if someone is thinking of innovating in healthcare, what is the right place to get in touch, and what is the best place for them to go?
Yeah, so I will start from the very beginning. So this year, Noca team also did their part. We have started a new initiative that it was not there during your time. Now we have started something called deferred placement program. So fresh graduates, if they would like to incubate at IIT Kanpur, they can, and if we like their idea, then they will get a letter that they can sit for placement 2 years later,
Wow.
and they will be able to start incubation and entrepreneurship the day they graduate. There will be fellowship from IIT Kanpur, and all the other support for product development. And then, if for some reason their business does not do well, they can still go back and sit for placement 2 years later. So we have already gotten two very good young kids, Nikhil and Harshit. They inspired them a lot. So we actually had 22 applications. We chose two. Now, because of all the things that SIIC has done, now we are getting very good applicant pool. Now, to support that pool, what has happened in last 1 year is Government of India, through its organization called BIRAC, Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council, they have funded us 20 crore to set up a rapid prototyping facility for medical devices and a testing facility for medical devices.
Okay.
Apart from that, IIT Kanpur and King George's Medical College University in Lucknow, we now have a program funded by Department of Biotechnology, where we will onboard 8 or 12 fellows per year. These fellows will come from all disciplines of all disciplines like science, technology, engineering, management, design, whatever. And then they will be paid a fellowship of 60,000 rupees per month. They will be spending their first 3 months at KGMU, where they will be given 101 on mechanical engineering, electronics engineering, computer science, very very basic background, as well as anatomy, physiology, etc. And they will be given complete access to all the functional arms of the hospital, so that they can see for themselves that what are the engineering implements that are in place in a good hospital like KGMU. Then they will pick up some ideas that these are the kind of devices that we can make. Then it will be chosen by a group like the fellows and KGMU doctors and IIT Kanpur professors, and then they will come to IIT Kanpur, use all the infrastructural facilities that we have created, make the device, then we'll go back to KGMU for actually doing the clinical trial, etc. KGMU is the biggest clinical trial center in the country.
Yes.
And then they will launch into, and like the Nocca type mentorship will be provided to them, so that the products are out in the market. Also,
Nice.
you may not know that one of the mentors of Nocca's ventilator is Yasdeep Kumar, our alumnus, and he is the global R&D head of a company called Stryker, which is one of the best medical devices company in the world. So we have a formal agreement with Striker. We now have formal agreement with two Indian medical devices companies, and we are most likely going to sign up with another MNC and Tata Steel. So you will get a fantastic ambience of different kinds of medical devices industries that are working with the incubator for promoting our products for R&D and D and for actual manufacturing and productization. So all of these you will get at SIIC, and of course the mentors team that we have created, we are already taking full advantage of them. Sanjeev and Sanjay and all of them are, we are keeping them busy. So everything that Nocca had in 84 days, you can think of it being protracted over a 1.5 year period to make sure that each and every product that IIT Kanpur SIIC takes up will be a success.
So, like, I can basically vouch and advise anyone who is innovating in healthcare to, get in touch with SIIC at IIT Kanpur, and
Absolutely. Absolutely, and I
wow,
forgot, we are adding to the ecosystem. You may have read in newspapers that Mehta Foundation has funded this new
hospital.
program, no new program called Engineering in Medicine. So
Oh,
we will
right.
be hiring engineers specifically to work on biomedical problems. And then the hospital is also coming up. So you will get a complete ecosystem, business ecosystem, clinical help, engineering support, everything will be in place.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow,
And it's
this
not
is
just
just
related to
amazing.
healthcare, it's also related to any other product. So IIT Kanpur
yeah,
Incubation Center is known for hardware startups, unlike other
yeah.
incubation centers where you have other service-based startup. IIT Kanpur Incubation Center has hardware startups.
Wow.
Yeah, we are doing extremely well. Like there is this segment called Waste to Value. So a Netherlands-based organization chose 6 Indian entities for an
Mhm.
international competition. Of the six, three are from SIIC.
Wow.
So yeah,
Wow.
so yeah,
That's amazing. So I have received a question in the chat, and I really want to ask this. So Harshit, if you could take up this question. So this is regarding funding. Mr. Shishir Nigam is asking, those initial funders who you said, so Prime 83, I think you mentioned, who were funding you initially, and the other funders who were funding you for the cleantech startup. Did their offer, like their offered funds, did they must be provided for specifically that particular project, right? Were you also able to use them for the ventilator project? And if I would like to quote Shishir for this, those initial funders mentioned, did they offer funds based on any quid pro quo, like getting a stake? So
Yeah.
there are two things I think in this question. Can you
Yeah,
answer both
so
of them?
the first thing that the our investors, Indian Angel Network, they very specifically told us. So we went to them to ask for permission that can we pursue this product because this is in a high requirement. So they clearly said that this is the need of the hour and you must do it. So they
Hmm.
very clearly told that you can use the funds for this project as well. But I don't think we used those funds because as soon as we started, we got support from a lot many other agencies, and all those were given as grants. A few were given as debts, but again they were convertible types. I mean, you can we donated a few units to some hospitals, and that debt was waived off. So mostly they were grants.
Nice. I think this is. I have just one last question, and this is to both the founders. Okay, I'll break it down into two parts. So first is what is next in the journey of Nocca, and what is the next big innovation that you are planning to bring to the market?
Okay, so
Nikhil, would you like to answer this?
okay.
Let Harshit, so
Okay.
Harshit, I think, was answering something.
Yeah.
Yeah, Harshit.
Yeah. Harshit, go
So,
ahead. Sorry.
we have since we have developed the ventilator. Now this device is a very sophisticated ICU critical care device.
Mhm.
There's a lot of things inside it, and if you see, we also launched the high flow nasal oxygen therapy device recently. I think there is a question in the chat also that can you tell us more about it? So I'll just tell
Mhm.
you that high flow nasal oxygen is a mode which is already there in the ventilator. So the ventilator
Okay.
has 12 modes. One of the mode is a HFNC device, high flow nasal oxygen device. Now that device is in itself a product which we have launched. So coming to the next thing, so our team has really good expertise in respiratory devices, and all the respiratory devices, and we talk about them, CPAP machines, BiPAP machines, anesthesia machines, all of them utilize the same kind of technology. So what we have done is we have created one kind of a platform, and we can build over it to create a new product. So this is the if I would say is the next 2 year goal is to enter into respiratory devices, and launch few more products in the same category. And
Mhm.
the goal will be not just to keep the device in India, it to make it export ready. I mean, we have already started doing work on that.
Nice.
So,
And
adding to this, one thing which is there, what we Nocca aspires to be is, so while working on this particular project of ventilator, we did not did any reverse engineering on any ventilator. We did not had any ventilator available because people whoever had ventilator they kept with them in the time of COVID when the pandemic hit. No one was ready to give any ventilator, so it was all theoretical knowledge and the expertise from the mentors, doctors who were there in the task force. What we realized, any product, be it a, no matter how complicated or how like big a product or a project is, there's a science which is the final part of the product, right? So for a ventilator, the science is how well you can control the pressure and the volume of the lungs which is there for the patient, right? And that is what IIT teaches us when we study about like for the JE, right? The basic principles and all those things, when we go into that detail, at the end of the day, any product is a science which is supported by different peripherals. So communication, let's say the communication has to happen between some of the two subsystems. That is already available. The end part, the main part of the any product is that small science which you need to crack. And that is what we realize. It might sound like a crazy thing, but honestly, what we right now feel is it all matters about the kind of processes and the kind of quality your team is following. We can definitely make anything, honestly speaking, anything. So it's basic science. At the end of the day, everything comes down to a science. So we can't make a rocket right now, but definitely 10 years down the line or 20 years down the line, if we have a team, at the end of the day it's science. And that is something which we realized in this particular project, honestly. And this is what we want to take Noka, and Noka would want to be what I and Harshit dream for Noka. Like, we would want to be something like a Siemens or a Tata, right? Where the company is into different verticals and it is known for its quality and the culture and the innovations. Because in India, we do not have any good company apart from these old companies which have created presence across globe. Apart from that, we do not have any companies in India, honestly.
so, to like, since this question was asked in the forms as well and in the chat as well, if I would like to answer this in one single line, that how did you get the science behind making a ventilator? So the answer to that would be you created the design yourself, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
We actually
Uh,
created that. Yes.
I've got just one last question, and I think we also have just 9 more minutes to go. And I want actually this an answer to this from as many like all three of you if possible. So, what in your opinion will be the biggest challenge in reaching these objectives that you just talked about, like becoming a company like Tata or Siemens? What is the biggest challenge, and how are you planning to get to those places?
So, Harshad, I'll like to answer this question. So, one thing which we realized while working in this project, so when we started, so I'll tell you, when we were doing the project for the 84 days, it was just the technology development, and that was our forte. We were good in technology. We were as good as a person who is much experienced in and working in any MNC. We were that good, definitely, and that was the reason the product was good. But we did not knew operations. We did not knew sales. We did not knew what can go wrong when we scale up the technology, and that was something which was missing in the team. So now the biggest challenge which we are facing is hiring a right talent. To give you an idea and the perspective how the team is growing right now, one of the ex vice president of Tata Power has just joined Noka, and one of the sales director of one of the biggest medtech companies across globe has joined Noka as a sales director. So that is
Wow,
the skill
wow.
which is not available in Noka, and that is something which we are trying to bring. we are good innovators, but definitely we lack experience. We graduated with you, right? So
Yes.
we do not have that much experience. So the biggest challenge will be to set up a team which can work in the same pace as the technology team can, because
Mm.
operations has its own challenge, production has its own challenge, and definitely the sales has its own challenge, and that is something which we have not seen, and that is not our expertise. So that is something which
Mm.
we would like to fill and take Noka ahead, and our mentors in IIT Kanpur is helping in that.
Harshit, you have anything to add to that?
Well, yes. So, as Nikhil said, we do have the expertise of developing a product, but then
Mm.
operations, service, after sales, these things will come over time. So we are
Mm.
already started that for the existing products, and once we start scaling up rapidly, then of course, I mean, being like a Tata or a Siemens, so they are, I think, more than 50-year old. So
True.
we are 3-year old at this point of time. So there are a lot of things that we do not know as of today also. But yes, we'll be in different verticals, several verticals, and we definitely do not want to be in a business of trading, wherein like mass manufacturing or something like that. So that is the initial idea, and I think yes, in the next 5 years we'll realize more that what all do we lack and how do we want to expand in this direction.
And since I
Uh,
have like time, so I'll just add to one of our mentors, IIT Kanpur second batch alumni, Dr. Saurabh Srivastav. He is mentor to Nocca Robotics, and we are very fortunate to have him as a mentor. And that only happened because of IIT Kanpur, SIIC IIT Kanpur. So he was
mhm.
part of Nocca when we were in IIT Kanpur Incubation Center in 2018 initially. In the month of January, he came to IIT Kanpur, and that was the time when we started interacting with him. When we got to know about the credentials of Dr. Saurabh Srivastava, we never even thought that he'll be interacting with us on such a regular basis. So I remember when the project got qualified from DGHS, the Director General of Health Services, our ventilator was the third ventilator in India which got the certificate, and was the first ventilator which is started as a new project because of COVID. So
Mhm.
after looking at all these scenarios, he called Harshit and me, and his vision for the company is much, much bigger than what our vision is. So that is the day when you start realizing that yes, if your mentors can see that vision, who has already seen everything in life. So that is
Mhm.
the day when you realize that yes, there is a lot of potential in the company.
True. I actually wanted to ask Professor Bandyopadhyay as well about the challenges in for Noka and how would we overcome them.
Yeah. So, it is actually not challenge, it is only opportunity. As you will see for sure, is that in the coming years, because of this jolt that we received from COVID, uh,
Mhm.
the hospitals will try to get equipped, very well equipped. Even tier 2, tier 3 city hospitals will try to get equipped. And they will not be able to afford the expensive imported material. So, if Noka can keep up its quality promise and
Mhm.
service. It's a
Mhm.
very, very service sensitive industry. If they can deliver on these two fronts while keeping the price reasonable, I'm not saying cheap, reasonable,
Right. Right.
uh, I will say that there is no looking back for Noka. I will tell you one real thing. I have a friend in Calcutta who does this medical devices business. So
Mhm.
when he learned about me, we are part of the school WhatsApp group. So he is trying to sell Noka products in Calcutta market. So he told me that your price is too low, 4 lakh. People think that it's not a good product, but I know that it's a top end product. So like
Right.
the product has the look and feel of any imported product. Therefore, if they can keep on this product quality trajectory and the services, if they can manage that, uh,
Mhm.
you have already seen birth of a brand.
Right. Since we just have 2 more minutes, if Nikhil, you can answer it in one short line, since you were talking about the right talent, and since you guys already have tech talent, and I have seen this question a lot in the forums. There were people asking, how do you start learning about robotics? If you can answer that in like a couple of sentences, then we can wrap this up.
Harshit would be a nice person because I'm learning how the Harshit is learning. So the graph of
Okay.
learning is I have not seen anyone learning at that scale what Harshit has done. So Harshit
Harshit,
should
would you
answer.
like to answer this, please?
Yeah, so I think when we talk about robotics, so there is a slight confusion. You've seen software engineers also getting into robotics. So
Mm-hmm.
our idea, so see, one part is obviously the software part, the vision, the motion path planning, those kind of things. What
Mm-hmm.
for us, robotics was not that. For us, robotics was wheels, motors, a frame, it moving. Now, when we were in college, we used to see that there are very sophisticated softwares simulated, then they are put on a model, those kind of things being done. But the model which was there, it was really bad. So that was something which we felt that there is a huge gap, and I think electronics and mechanical engineering was something which we thought that we can make something really good. So the first product which we had in the college, it was actually a robot, and we at that point of time we were not very strong in the software and the vision and path planning type of things. But yes, when we talk about something that you can throw from 10 feet and it will not break and it will still run, so that was
Nice.
robotics for us.
Awesome.
So
So,
in the question,
since we
someone
are
is
running,
asking about IIT Kanpur Robo Club. So definitely it helped us a lot because that was my first club where I was part of. Saket Kanodia, Abhishek Sharma, they all mentored me and taught me a lot of things.
nice. So, I think we're running short of time right now, but I have got so many questions in chat here. Some of them are going in greater detail. So, if there is any way that, maybe a social media handle or an email address which you can share with the audience so that they can, get in touch with you with these more detailed questions, that would be great. And then we can wrap up.
Yeah, definitely I'm just doing it.
So we'll share that with everyone else as well through email, like everyone who has registered. We'll share these details. And at this point, I would actually like to thank like all the panelists, Nikhil, Harshit, Professor Bandyopadhyay, for making taking out the time from their schedules for this talk and to inspire so many people. I think there were more than 150 registrations and more than 60, 70 people had listened to the whole talk. So I'm sure that this has made a huge positive impact. And thanks again. Thanks a lot for attending. Everyone who has attended this talk, thanks a lot for taking out the time from your lives and listening to us.
Thank you so much, Vikalp, and thank you, Dr. Bandyopadhyay, for all your support. Like, I've never got an opportunity to thank you because we are interacting, but definitely you played a very, very important role in the success of Nocca so far. Not just the medtech, definitely the product which was there previously. You saved Nocca from two incidents of like getting to a zero. So
Awesome.
you are muted.
So if you're speaking something, you're muted.
So that is my job, right? As the professor in charge of innovation and incubation, that's part of my job. But it is always fun to work with budding entrepreneurs. And Avikalp, through you, please spread this message. We have created a master list of 30 medical devices that are used in every single hospital in the country but are imported. If there are brave hearts who would like to make those, SIIC is the place.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. I'll definitely spread this in my network and we'll spread this through everyone who has registered for this talk as well. Uh, all right. So thanks a lot to everyone, and I would like to take
Yeah,
your leave
thank
now.
you, Alumni Association Bangalore. And without Alumni Association, SIIC is nothing, literally. And this I am saying with all honesty. Every strength SIIC derives is from the alumni. I see Ajay Mutreja there; like he has been helping us a lot. Vinay Garg, many people. Without alumni, it is very difficult. Okay, so please keep the alumni support on. Okay,
Awesome. Thanks a lot. Thank you,
bye
everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
Bye.
Avikalp.
bye.
All right. Bye.